It's another Cowboys and Coffee podcast. We're back. The regular season has ended, and we are into the playoffs. We've been in the playoffs for a while, but now we're here at the playoffs, D.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome back, baby.
We're ready to go. This is it.
It's
As
nice.
The players and millions of Dallas fans, this is where we're at, and we're going to continue until we pick last.
Listen, 3 straight seasons of 12 wins for Mike McCarthy. It's been an incredible run. Excuse me, they had the Dak season where they, everything went haywire. Mm-hmm. But when they have Dak healthy, they're a legitimate elite team in the NFC. Now we have to see it in the playoffs.
Well, here we are. This is what the players are talking about. Fans are anticipating. And we have a Green Bay team that you have to take serious.
You have to beat the tar out of them.
Yeah.
We've been saying it all day together.
Mm-hmm.
First, let's go back and rehash last week's win over the Commanders, the Commodores, as you prefer to call them. Mm-hmm. That's what you have to do. The team kept the game close, and they did everything they could to stay in. They went fourth down. They're calling trick plays, and the Cowboys just pull away, and they put the nail in the coffin for the Rivera regime. 38-10 victory. It was... They did what needed to be done, and the Commanders move in a different direction.
Well, there's no guarantees of victories. You got to go out and play football. You got to tackle and block. They're playing the way they should play. They put up 38. The 2 guards got a playing time out there. It was good to see that. They ran the football with success, and CD did his thing, and that's what you have. You have a team. Score. And matter of fact, he missed them on the other outside receiver. Had another touchdown. Dak overthrew. Should have been 45.
Right. Mm-hmm. And listen, blocked field goal. Miss. It is what it is. They could have put up 40. Yeah. Dak has what I think is his best season in his career. 4,500 yards passing, 36-9. He said before the season, "I'm not throwing 10 interceptions." They laughed at him. People laughed. Oh, yes, he is. Oh, yes. Oh, he might lead the league in interceptions. Well, he had 9. He didn't hit 10. He led the league in touchdown passes. He is... It's him or Lamar for MVP, in my opinion. Those are the 2 guys. Do I think Dak has a legitimate case for it? Yes. I think they'll give it to Lamar because they're the number 1 seed. But I think Dak is legitimately in the conversation. I wouldn't be surprised if it's closer than people think.
Well, can we have the same thing tacked to him, MVP type year like they did for Wentz? Remember that one?
Right. He had an MVP type season.
Yeah. Can we have that with that at least to give him
Absolutely.
that? Okay, because Lamar's winning it. Okay.
Right.
Can you bet on that?
The same thing they said that Jalen Hurts last year. An MVP type season.
I don't hear that about.
That's what needs to happen for Dak. He had an MVP type season. Yeah. And CD, look at CD. He had the best receiving season ever for a Dallas Cowboy. Yeah. He broke Michael's numbers in Game 16. Right. Game 17 was icing on the top. It was the cherry on top. Right. It wasn't that he got to Game 17 and beat it. Kind of like Puka Nacua did with the rookie receiving record.
Right.
And someone will eventually do to Calvin Johnson's receiving record or Jerry Rice's record. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the extra game. Well, CD did it in 16, so you can't say he didn't. Same thing with Deron Bland with his interceptions. Now, he tacked on a 9th one there, but CD is first team All-Pro.
First team All-Pro.
It's him.
Thank you, Richard Sherman, for that.
Yeah.
When you said he wasn't a number 1 receiver, and last year he was All-Pro. This year, first team.
Now we have questions beginning of last year with him with some drops and stuff. And since those questions, he has absolutely taken off. He has shown that he is the dominant force in Dallas. He's almost unstoppable. And the Cowboys flourish when they go through him. Some teams, like the Vikings, like the Bengals, when they go through Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase, they thrive when they go primarily to their 1 receiver. Cowboys are like that too. I think you might say, it's always beneficial to pass the ball around. I think with the Cowboys, when they spotlight CD, and same with the Vikings and Bengals, it opens up the rest of the offense. If you look at someone like the Bills, it's the opposite. When they were focusing on Stephon Diggs, well, the offense kind of locks up because he's not a top 3, top 5, he's top 10 receiver, probably top 5, but he's not one of those guys where he will personally dominate the game and open up for everyone else. At least their offensive scheme doesn't lead to it that way. CD is that guy. He is first team All-Pro. He's one of the best receivers in the NFL now. It's not really up for debate anymore.
And this is his 2nd year.
Right. This isn't just year one. He was second team All-Pro last year.
This is the second time. So there's multiple Pro Bowls as we speak.
And multiple All-Pros. I mean, this is...
All-Pros, yeah.
We are seeing him enter his prime.
Yeah.
He has incredible yards after catch, which we've always known. They're figuring out how to get him the ball in space and let him carve up a defense. Let him get the ball. He's an excellent route runner. He's physical. He deserves the number 88.
Oh, the number 88. Yes, I remember that very well. Yeah.
So we beat the Commodores. We beat the Washington Commanders. We move into the playoffs. And now this Sunday at 4:25, we kick off against the Packers. What are you feeling about the Packers game?
Our defense has to show up. This is a good quarterback. This guy has no weaknesses. He can get out of the pocket, roll, throw the ball deep. He knows the offense. He's a smart guy. He's an upcoming star. The last 5 or 6 games, no interceptions. So that means he's not forcing the ball in there, and that's what you have to be concerned, because you don't want to lose 30-28.
It's true.
28-27.
You know, we've had enough losses against the Packers in recent history, whether it's the catch, whether it's Aaron Rodgers rolling left. We were at that game. I know I'm sick and tired of losing the Packers in the playoffs. They're not a bad team, but I've seen throughout the season they can be inconsistent. You know, the Cowboys got Jonathan Hankins back last week. There's a different run defense. They're going to need him this week with A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones. You cannot let these guys... Remember, last year they had them beat, and the Packers came back late in the game and beat them, which still is despicable loss.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
You have to take... You're a better team than them. And I've said this about other teams. You're a better team than them. You have to beat these guys. Can the Packers defense stop them from scoring 30 points? And that's the thing about the Cowboys, is they put so much pressure on you that they could score 30 points like that. 4 touchdowns and a field goal. I know you say, Paul, that's a lot. For Dallas, it's not unfeasible to say they can't do it.
I think they're averaging 34 a game at home.
Correct.
Yeah.
You know, can the Packers score with that? They have a bunch of pass catchers. No one's truly elite. They're a little dinged up on the outside, but they can run the ball, and they really have to get pressure on Jordan Love, make him uncomfortable. And for me, the big thing is don't let them score on the first drive. That's, to me, is the key of the game. Do not let the Packers score on their first drive. Let them know that you're going to have to earn it the whole game.
Well, I like looking at rankings where they are offensive and defensively. Their offense overall was ranked 11th or 12th. Their defense was 25th. But here's the difference. In the playoffs, those rankings are out the door.
Correct.
They don't count.
You only need to get hot once. You only need one time to get hot. And listen, the Browns are riding Joe Flacco like the Ravens rode Joe Flacco. Very hot.
Right.
And now, do I trust the Browns? I don't know. I think he's had a turnover, interception every single game. Now, yeah, he's throwing 2 or 3 touchdowns too with that defense. But can Dak continue to avoid? I'm
worried about this game. Matchups are a big thing. And again, they pass block and throw the ball down the field and get behind the zone. And then Dak forces is in there, 2 picks, sets them up. I don't know why. You know what it is? It's flashbacks of years past.
Yeah.
It's a PTSD.
Yeah,
that's what it is. That's exactly what it is. Yep.
You know, what I was encouraged by last week was seeing Tony Pollard hit the hole late in the year. He looked like he has fresh legs.
Yeah.
He actually looked as good as I've seen him look. So I was really encouraged that this is the Cowboys offense running in, and it's the Cowboys running offense going into the postseason without Tyler Smith, without Zach Martin last week, both of which will be playing this week. They're going into this game with an offensive line that they might actually be okay. Like, Pollard might actually be able to look as good as he's looked all year, which we've had question marks. Yeah, he got his 1,000 yards in the 17th game. This could be something that really, really makes it incredibly difficult. The Cowboys can pass the ball with anyone. Dak has shown us that. CD, Cooks, Ferguson, they've all shown us that. If they can run the ball now effectively too, he was over 4 yards per carry. Tony Pollard was. Rico Dowdle is still running very tough. If they can run the ball, they're very difficult to beat offensively.
Well, here's by running the ball what it means. That means that the linemen and linebackers have to honor by coming up. Linebacker have to come up and play that run. that opens behind them, and that's where you get that Ferguson guy who is not an all-pro, not a Pro Bowler, but his second year, he's nasty.
You know, we are actually, I feel like, in a wave of great tight end play, just exceptional tight end play. And Jake Ferguson has a trust of Dak. Dak throws the ball in the seam route to him a lot, where there's a very small window, and it shows you that he trusts him in a very difficult throw. And we said earlier, I told you earlier, I trust Jake Ferguson more than I trust Dalton Schultz. Dalton Schultz killed the Cowboys last year without getting out of bounds, or he wasn't a good blocker. Jake Ferguson is tough as nails, and he'll be in there and fight you on the block, and so will Schoonmaker. He'll catch the ball, and he's going to run straight at you and punish you as a safety or a linebacker or cornerback. If you're going to try and tackle him, he'll punish you.
He's like a Jason Witten's little brother.
Yes,
that's what he reminds you of. And they got another guy come up, Stevens.
You wait.
He's 6'6", 6'7", dude. You know that, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, yeah. What is your prediction for the Cowboys-Packers game this week?
I'm going to go 27-20 Cowboys.
Okay, I'm going to go...
I'm not happy with our defense. I think we're very good. We're not great. We're not in a great defense.
Without Diggs, it's a different... Without Diggs. With Diggs, we're a great defense because the number one corner will shut you down.
Yeah.
And Bland and Lewis and the rest of the guys, Gilmore, they'll dominate. I think with Diggs, they're that. Without that, they're a very good defense. I'm going to say 31-22 Dallas. I think the Packers will score. They'll get some field goals. They'll do what they got to do. You know, they've had a coach who's done it, who's won in the playoffs. I think they will have a tough time stopping this Cowboys passing attack. You've seen the Cowboys can score, and they can score on good defenses. Listen, they're one CeeDee Lamb fumble away from putting up 30 points on the Lions.
Right.
You know,
right. That game was another.
Yeah, that's another one.
Even the great North Carolina Tar Heels team with Michael Jordan, those guys won 72-70.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So they would have put up 27 still.
Yeah.
I mean, they would the game would have been out of reach. Not to mention people complain about that. We're going back to the Lions. They complained about that the ineligible receiver was a tripping call, should have been on the Lions. They called him the Cowboys. The game would have been over anyway.
Yeah.
So Cowboys can beat good teams. Packers, I think, are a solid team. I will even say a good team. They're not a very good team. They're certainly not a great team, but they're in the playoffs. And if they're in the playoffs, they're dangerous, and you have to go in and rip their heart out. And you need this win, especially against the Packers, to start to exorcise some of the demons from Aaron Rodgers, from Dez, to Mike McCarthy, the Cowboys as a whole. And to get back to that 90s football.
You got to win in spite of refereeing.
Yeah.
In spite of refereeing.
It can't be any excuses.
Yeah.
Nothing's going to be good enough. I said before the season, if Mike McCarthy doesn't get to... If the Cowboys don't get to the NFC Championship game, it is a failure.
Yep.
I still feel the same way. You get there, you get to the championship game, and you lose. I'll be pissed, but whatever, it happens. You have to get to that game, and you don't get to that game unless you win Sunday night. So... While we're here, we're going to start to talk some other NFC East teams, and we'll start in the playoffs, work our way out. Eagles limped their way in, 1-5 down the stretch. They're 10-1. I think they're the second team ever to start 10-1 and not even win their division. What's your thoughts on them facing the Buccaneers Monday Night Football?
I think the Buccaneers finished them off.
Man, it is a disaster. We talked about Super Bowl hangovers before the season. We talked about whether teams got worse, stayed the same, or got better. We told people here, Eagles got worse and the Cowboys got better.
Mm-hmm.
Cowboys' record might have stayed the same. I think they're definitely a better team.
Yeah.
And I think it's without a doubt the Eagles got worse. They are clipped by the loss their offense coordinator and defense coordinator head coaching jobs. The offense and defense are not the same. Now they're going to the playoffs. Jalen Hurts' finger, his middle finger, I don't know if you saw it. I mean, that thing was like up here.
Yeah.
And A.J. Brown is dinged up. Devontae Smith dinged up. Cam Jurgens. They lost Sidney Brown for the year, even probably into next season. They are
We'll see
really,
about that guard too.
right. Cam Jurgens, he's hurt. So there's a lot of injuries. Reed Blankenship is hurt. So they are they're going to Tampa as well. It's not like they're playing in Philly. And that's the big loss. That's probably the worst thing about all this is, listen, you limp into the playoffs and you won the NFC East and you got in, you get a home game to kind of get right, heal up, stay home. No, they have to go to Tampa, who's relatively healthy, and Baker can throw for 167 and 2 picks, or he could throw for 303 touchdowns.
I think he got a 267 with 3 touchdowns in it.
Right, because Mike Evans. Mike Edwards was a phenomenal point guard on one of our teams growing up.
Yeah.
We won the championship that none of my brothers could bring to my father, but I did.
That's right.
Mike Evans, he can eat that defense alive. Chris Godwin can carve them up. You know, they have a offense that can get the ball to the running backs who can eat up. Darius Leonard, he stinks. He's washed up. I mean, he is so slow. He looks like you're trying to, like the first time you were learning how to drive an 18-wheeler out there on defense, if he were driving it in the snow. Like, it's embarrassing.
Yeah, he's the shell of the person he was.
Yeah, he was great. He was all pro.
Yeah.
But man, you get him in space. I think you and I could run past him at this point.
Yeah.
I think you could roll a bowling ball covered in molasses uphill faster than he can get after someone. So they are in a lot of trouble. And man, if they don't win, listen, they win and they lose to the 49ers, people are going to say we were dinged up, whatever, we'll get you next year. They lose to the Bucks, people are going to crucify them. That's going to be a long offseason. It's already started. They're criticizing Nick Sirianni for playing the Stars last week, and the Stars got hurt. He's
going to be fired. They lose their fight.
I don't know. I don't think they fire him. He's a year removed from the Super Bowl, one drive away from winning the Super Bowl.
He got a clean house with that whole thing there, because he's.
I don't think so. I mean, listen, I hope they keep him because I hate him.
Mm-hmm.
Not as a person, God bless him, but as a coach and as an entity with the Eagles, hate him.
Yeah, he's an idiot.
Hate him.
He's an idiot.
Okay, that's it. Let's move to another disastrous situation, the New York Football Giants. And I say it's disastrous because of the entire Wink Martindale, Brian Daboll situation. Wink was upset apparently with the coaches that were fired that he had brought over with him and walked into Daboll and cursed him out and then left and literally flew back to Florida.
Really?
Now, the reports were that he had resigned. The reports were that he was fired. Apparently, neither are true. He's still under contract, and the Giants are waiting for him to resign, and they're not going to pay him, and they're not going to let him go to another team.
Right, because they have the rights. Yeah, you can't. Yeah,
they'll make him wait. Yeah. Now, the reality is, he will get. Reports are that he will get interest. The Giants' defense the last 2 years is what's carried this team, believe it or not. They may not statistically be great, but the reality is their offense hasn't been great, so they've had to do it.
Yeah.
I think last year and this year, the defense has kept them in ball games. The offense couldn't do anything. What? I said before, the Giants are in worse shape this year than they were last year because they're a year later and they have the same questions. They might have more questions with no defensive coordinator. What's their issue? What's going on? Where are the Giants at?
Well, you got the head, it's on the head coach. When you give the head coach a pass, I'm not saying you're not getting rid of him. Here's my argument with their quarterback. What style of football are you going to run? You're going to run your quarterback. I told you this all the time. Put him on part of that offense. See what happens. Allen's already for the Buffalo's banged up.
Yeah.
He's a tight end that can throw a football. He's a beast of a guy. But Jones is not like that. Those guys are not like that. How are you going to run your offense running that type of offense?
Right, because now he has 20 ACL.
That's the problem with that.
And a neck injury. Right, you have all these things.
That's the problem they have. Is the coaching not working? That'll find its way out because they rotate coaching staff. Is your quarterback? That's the style you're going to pick?
So,
good luck.
Here's the issue. Do you pick a quarterback if you're the Giants? And let's play both ways. If you do not, Daniel Jones is probably going to miss the start of the season. Another two rostered quarterbacks are Tyrod Taylor and Tommy DeVito. Tommy DeVito is showing you he really isn't a starting caliber.
Is Taylor on a contract for next year?
He's free agent. Both guys are free agents, so you're going to have to bring back Tyrod Taylor.
Somebody making more money.
He's going to make big money as a backup quarterback this year. Why wouldn't you take him? Listen, if you're the Jets, wouldn't you go and throw him big money to be your backup quarterback?
I'm sitting down in the Giants staff, and I'm back up and going,
you have no choice. He was the best quarterback this year.
Yeah, he was.
So you have to bring him back. Let's say you do draft Now you have Daniel Jones on your roster. You have Tyrod Taylor on your roster, who's going to have to get reps because he's going to start the season. And then are you going to pick who? I guess. Let's say you pick any one of the top 3. Let's say you move up and get one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the draft. Now, what happens in your preseason? Is your rookie not getting reps? Daniel Jones isn't getting any reps to get back to the speed? Because if you do, you basically know that Daniel Jones is on his way out the door. But how do you get any trade value for him? You're just going to let him walk after a year. And at what point do you begin that transition?
And he's going to miss the first 4 games.
Probably miss the first 4, at least the first 2. It'd be shocking if he came back and played week 1 just because of the nature of the injury when he got hurt.
It's very unusual. And you're not going to have him run? You're not going to have him run?
That's the thing. So you're damned if you do, damned if you don't, forgive the expression. And then you come to the Saquon issue. Do you re-sign Saquon? Do you piss him off and franchise tag him again? Now you've really caused an issue. And if you don't, what are you doing offensively? Because your other backs aren't nearly as explosive. But if you sign him to a long-term contract, you might be locking in with a bad offensive line, a guy who's not really going to give you any value there for that money.
He deserved the long-term over Jones. He was a better player. The only thing was that he got hurt every other year, banged up. I got that. But so did Jones get hurt every other year.
And then look at him now.
And then coming into this year, you're going to run him. When he gets back in that quarterback, are you going to keep him tuck the ball and run? 15 touchdowns, 7, and that's it. That was a good year. You Giant fans think that's a good year?
Oh, he was a good quarterback. 15 touchdowns, 15 passing touchdowns.
Is 7 running?
In a passing league. That's the thing. It's in a passing league. This isn't 1945. 15 passing touchdowns, all-time high.
And Josh Allen, we like the guy, goofy guy. You know, he's a guy you can see why you like him. But he hasn't won no Super Bowl.
Correct. In fact, I don't
know why. He hasn't been to one.
He gets more benefits from losses than anyone I've ever seen.
Oh, that's the truth. You're right.
He lost to the Chiefs. Oh, he lost to the Bengals. Oh, no one's throwing him under the bus. And he deserves to be thrown under the bus because they've had talented teams, talented fronts, good defenses, weapons on offense. He has to, I know they got hot at the end of the year and then with a 2 seed. I think there's a ton of pressure on the Bills because guess what? You know, they face the Steelers who are cagey, but they're without TJ Watt. They still have Alex Highsmith. Let me tell you, if they lose to the Steelers, light the thing on fire. It's done. But they have to get back to the AFC Championship game this year because if not, it's a disaster and it's just a failure on the Bills' part. I know we're getting off the Bills. Let's kick on down. We've done the Eagles. We've done the Giants. Now we go to the Commanders. It's just time to clean house. It's just time to absolutely, and that's what they're doing. They need to trade, and you probably need to get your quarterback now because this is the place. You're the second pick. You got your guy, but they have to rebuild from the bottom up, really from the top down. I guess I would say, as the ownership is new, you need a new GM. They need a new president, and then he'll decide if they're keeping the GM, which they shouldn't because their draft picks stink, and then a new coach. Ron Rivera stayed way too long. He was given way too much power. He is the next generation Jeff Fisher, where they had 1 Super Bowl run when they lost, and then
you look at his record.
Right, he rode being average. Yeah, he won the NFC East at 7-9 when Dak was out that year. If Dak's healthy, even an absolutely dreadful Cowboys defense probably wins that division at 8-8. But I mean, they stink.
I guess they're going to be under the cap next year.
About $80 million.
$80 million. They'll get something, and they got a couple second rounders, I guess.
They got a second and third because they traded.
Well, they're going to set up pretty good in the draft. Who they bring?
I want to be clear. Just because you get high draft picks or multiple first-round picks does not mean that you have it all set. The Giants picked Kayvon Thibodeau, who's been a very good young, had 11 sacks. But they also got Evan Neal. They're like, their offensive defensive line is set. Evan Neal stinks, and that's generous. He is a turnstile at right tackle. You look at the Eagles. They got Jalen Carter, who's been good, probably defensive rookie of the year. But they got Nolan Smith in there. Oh, Nolan Smith. What has Nolan Smith done? Nothing. Nothing at all. Nolan Smith hasn't done anything. So there were a lot of games where he was inactive.
Yeah.
So he wasn't doing anything. I'll look up his stats here real quick. Nolan Smith.
I think he had 1 sack.
On the year.
1 sack.
Let's see his stats here. Stats, NFL.com. He had 1 sack all year.
1 sack.
He did play 17 games, so he wasn't inactive, but he had 10 tackles all year.
Right.
10 tackles.
He's another one that was not going to get drafted in the first round.
Right.
Because all the teams passed on him.
Oh, they're picking the Georgia defense.
Yeah, he's the 32nd pick, right?
Yeah.
So he wasn't even going to be considered a first rounder.
Yeah, they're talking about.
And that's a fact too, by the way.
Right.
Yeah.
Like they got these guys like they're all pros already. Well,
he wasn't 10th pick. They had 20 teams to look at him.
And here's what's to look at for the Eagles. They have an old roster. They have old anchors to their team. Kelsey, Lane Johnson. They have a couple of defensive linemen.
Is Fletcher coming back next year?
Cox. I don't know.
Graham's not coming back.
Fletcher Cox. Like these guys have been there, and they've been. I mean, between Cox, Kelsey, and Johnson, that's 3 all pros.
Yeah.
Who? Yeah, they're not playing necessarily like they're elite, like they're peak anymore, but they're at least wily veterans. They know how to get it done, and they're going on out the door. And it's hard to replace all pros. We say that, especially in the offensive line, to replace such continuity. Such talent, such guile, such ability to play that.
All pros don't miss starts.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So we've talked about last week. We talked about coming up this week. We talked about other teams in the division. Anything else you want to go over this week?
Well, this is where it starts. Like I said before, Texas Rangers won this year, and Dallas will be the other championship.
Luka's MVP frontrunner at this point. Any inside scoops you got from Cowboys sources that we can share?
Nothing today.
Nothing that we'll hold off. We have other things, other pokers in the fire, but we'll hold off on that for now. Cowboys better win. Cowboys better win.
Oh yeah.
That's all I can say. Cowboys better win. Listen, we're getting to the end of season 3 of Cowboys and Coffee podcast. I want this to be the latest season that we go because we got to go right up to just past the Super Bowl. Because, you get invited to Super Bowl parties. I'm not going to a Super Bowl party for Cowboys in the Super Bowl. I'm staying home, Jack. We're watching this together.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to be, let me tell you something. Those of you who do or don't know, I'm a pastor. And nothing I hate more in this world, nothing, than a church Super Bowl party. Because I want to sit there and I want to watch the commercials.
Yeah,
I want to watch the halftime show.
I know.
I want to yell at the TV. I have a superpower to be able to speak through the television screen. When I scream and say, "You're a stupid idiot, pass the ball," they hear me. Special power.
Yeah.
So I want to do that. Throw the ball. What are you doing? Why are you running the ball on 3rd and 15 at their 40? Whatever it is. I'm not doing that at a church.
No.
Why? It's just when someone says it's just a game, it's hands on sight. It is quick in the laying on of hands. Let me tell you.
No.
Not the Super Bowl.
No such thing. Just a game.
Don't say that.
No, it's not your reality. Okay, hon. Yeah. Okay, hon.
Oh, it's just a game, Paul.
Yeah. Okay, hon. Yeah.
And it's just a black eye now. God bless you. Listen. All right, that's it. Anything else? You've got to shout out to someone before we go.
I usually have a shout out to somebody. I want to have a shout out to Mrs. Stevens. Mrs. Spence, who was an art teacher at KSP temporarily. Her last day is Friday. Nice. Just a beautiful person. So fun to be around. Very smart, on the ball. She's no longer going to be a kindergarten KSP art teacher. She's moving on to something else. But she's a good Joe. She really was. I had a lot of fun with her.
You know what? I just realized. I'm going to shout out to Steve Arconti.
Yeah.
My football coach since I was 9 years old through high school. He helped me. I was a kicker in high school, and he helped me with practices.
Good guy, yeah.
He just passed away this week. A+ human being.
Yeah, he was.
Coach, I love you. I miss you.
Yeah.
I'm grateful for you, Coach.
Yeah, guys, grown men love him. Yeah. Yep.
So I was lucky to have him as one of my coaches. So we'll go to his wake and funeral this week. But that's my shout out this week. So he's worth the shout out. So
yes, he is.
That's it. Listen, onward and upward for the Cowboys. Let's go win this game. Let's beat the tar off these guys, and we'll come back next week and be ready for whoever we got to beat in the divisional round.
Yeah, somebody else will be.
All right. Listen, you can find us. Whoa. Before we end, I forgot to tell you. Our clip that Sean put on about Jason Garrett throwing games has gone bonkers. We need to verify, we need to clarify something here. This is an opinion.
Well,
We're clarifying something that
one of the receiver
Ray Sherman.
Yeah, that's who it was.
Ray
Yeah.
Sherman is the guy who
he
has said this. T.O. has talked about this in the past.
You sure you want to run these plays? That was the question.
And we have sources within the Star who are confirming the suspicions that Ray Sherman had talked about, T.O. had talked about.
Yeah. Sure you want to run these plays?
And he did it on purpose.
Yep.
Did it on purpose. We are not. This is not opinion. This is not.
Interesting.
Oh, I'm not sure if. No, we are sure. We're telling you that's what's happening.
He questioned Garrett. You sure you want to run this play?
And notice when
these plays.
Jason Garrett came in, who did he fire? Ray Sherman. First firing Ray Sherman.
I wonder where he is, by the way. We'll look it up later.
We'll have to look him up later.
Yeah.
That's it. Listen, this is the Cowboys and Coffee podcast, baby. You find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple iTunes, Anchor. Wherever you get your podcasts, you can watch us there. You can listen to us. And we're just having a blast.
Who knows? Somebody might be going to the game. But anyways, peace out. Love you.
God bless. Go Cowboys. Peace.